Hello, JayAshcroft here. You know, you might be watching this thinking, this guy's a videographer and photographer. Why is he got a truck hood open, changing his spark plugs? I find that when I'm doing things that have absolutely nothing to do with work, that's when I have my most profound and meditative thoughts. So maybe this is just an experiment to see if I say anything interesting, or maybe it's just going to be a long, boring video of a guy trying to change his spark plugs in his truck himself. So here we go. Let's dive into something that I am absolutely not certified to do. I really enjoy doing stuff like this. Maybe it feels nostalgic for me. When I was younger, you had a family cottage. You had four-wheelers and dirt bikes, and they were always breaking down. So me and my little brother Steve would we'd be young. We'd just be hanging out there with Dad and my uncle and my cousins, kind of tinkering on stuff to make it run properly. And I think that's the big thing with maintenance stuff. I mean, say it's a car or your house or anything. If you like the process and it's worth your time for that reason. So say when I'm doing this, I get a nostalgic feeling and I have maybe thoughts. Like this is when, ooh, that's weird. This is when I get a lot of ideas for my business, or I have something that I've been thinking about a lot, or I feel stressed or anxious about something. And then, I kind of pick a menial task like this and I let my mind wander. It really helps me to kind of put pieces together. And that does make sense because, consciously I'm focused on this task, which in itself is extremely relaxing because there's an obvious problem, which is that my spark plugs need to be changed. There's an obvious solution, which is that you put the new spark plugs in and the truck runs properly. And to have a simple problem to solve like that is quite rewarding because, as I'm sure you know, if you're a freelancer, if you're a videographer, photographer, literally nothing that you do is A to B. It's not black and white. There are a million little gray areas. There's hard emails to respond to. There's difficult technological troubleshooting to move through. There's computer problems and collaboration problems and just regular business issues that can kind of get to you if you do that all day, every day. So I do my best to try to find moments to do things like this, which can be counterintuitive because especially if you're a creative, you just want to create all the time. This isn't really creative, It's like an advanced set of IKEA instructions. I don't think I've really talked much, at least lately, about what happened to me a year ago. I think I mentioned it in one of my first videos. Maybe that's what the whole video was about. Yeah, the 3 pillars to business success video. To give you kind of the full backstory, I was on my motorcycle riding down it was a 4-lane road. Long story short, this old man crunched my leg between his bumper and my motorcycle engine. And initially, I don't know if you've ever had a serious injury like that. Initially, it was almost exciting. Excuse me, I'm getting a phone call. That was just a text. Anyways, initially it was exciting. Which makes sense because the adrenaline is rushing. It was the strangest feeling. You're lying on the asphalt. The guy drove away. My bike's beside me. I'm ripping my helmet off to see what happened. And firefighters are over me. They're trying to take my boot off. I'm screaming at them to just cut it. I still have that boot, old Blundstone. Then they took me to the hospital in the ambulance. Had no drugs to give me. They gave me Tylenol, which, as I learned, doesn't even get rid of pain. It just tricks your brain into thinking that the pain doesn't exist, which I found quite interesting. So I'm in the hospital, and you know, I call my partner M. First question she asked was, "Is it your head?" She thought maybe I got hit in the head or something, and I said, "No, just snapped my leg in half. That's all." And she said, "Oh, good, I'm coming." So she made her way to the hospital and waited around a long time, got X-rays and everything, and they're like, "Yeah, she's snapped in half. We're gonna have to cut into you above your knee. Then we have to send a titanium rod down through your knee and the top of your bone." Can't remember the different bones. There's tib and fib. I think the tib is the big one, the main one in your shin. They're gonna send a titanium rod down there, a couple screws. You'll be good to go in, I don't know how long they said. That's pretty messed up on whatever they were putting into my system. So I had the surgery, it went well. I woke up. Next morning, they tried to discharge me. They're like, "Okay, you're good. Time to go home." No cast or anything. I guess you don't do that with that kind of fracture because all the stuff around your bone needs to be able to move to heal. It's highly dependent on the muscle and tissue around it. So no cast or anything, which was mind-blowing to me. And they tried to get me out of bed to walk down the hall. And I just remember saying, "Please don't make me do that. Like, I can't." So they said, "Okay." And they didn't make me do it. And then they came back maybe 20 minutes later. And I guess in that time, like I was connected to an IV, right? A little pause there. That was one cylinder. How long did that take? Let's check our time here. 20 minutes. Okay. So I got 7 cylinders to do. 16. So it's taking like a couple hours. Great. So in that time between them leaving, they came back 20 minutes later. And in that time, I guess they had pumped me with something. Some kind of painkiller or whatever it was. And they got me up somehow. I don't know how I got up. And they made me, with a broken leg, walk. They gave me crutches. Made me walk down the hall. And then they made me walk up these stairs, like this set of stairs that they had kind of set up. And they put me back into the bed. And then they said, "Okay, call your ride, you're being discharged." So I called them, and her and my brother Steve and my mom, they came to get me in Mom's car. And they wheeled me out in a wheelchair, and I remember feeling the sun on my face and smiling. They somehow got me into the car and brought me home and got me into bed. And that bed was where I lived for, it must have been 2 or 3 months before I could actually get out of bed. This thing that happened to me, it was, obviously the most difficult experience I've had in my entire life. I just kept thinking that this is it. Everything's over. Everything I've worked so hard for is gone. I had just moved up to a place that I really wanted to be. I was really excited to be here. Now I had to lie in bed for 2 or 3 months. That alone is enough to make someone really feel sorry for themselves, ask a lot of whys, Why did I get on that motorcycle in the first place? Why, to the minute, did I leave my house on that motorcycle and take that specific route that led me to that specific fate? Why did that happen? And I think we can all ask ourselves these questions a lot. Why did this happen to me? Poor me. I'll never be the same again. These sorts of questions. And we're all the same. We all have dogs who take a crap on the carpet and then we burn our supper. We all graduate from things most of the time. We all work jobs and have friends and family. hopefully most of the time. What this experience has taught me is that the most powerful teachers ever are those times in our lives, those seasons where we're tested and pushed to the absolute limit of what we think we're capable of coping with. And if you can find it within yourself to dig down just for one day, and then you do it another day, and then another and another, you'll realize that everything's fine. And you might even realize that this thing that's happened to you, this ultimate tragedy in your life, is actually the best thing that's ever happened to you. And I can confidently say that this guy hitting me on my motorcycle and snapping my leg in half is the best thing that has ever happened to me. It gave me the perspective I so desperately needed, and it filled in a blank in my life that has always been present, a void, if you will. And that void was a respect for my body, which I think a lot of us can fall victim to, can all be susceptible to binge drinking, to eating Burger King a little too often, to not exercising. And when you need to, so just from my specific experience here, this might be applicable to you, it might be applicable to somebody else, or not at all. From my specific experience, when you're laying there and you need to regrow a bone, you are very conscious about what you are eating and what you are putting in your body. And if you're staying properly hydrated, and you're thinking about every single movement that your body makes. When I got hit by that car and I went into the hospital, I weighed 145 pounds. I was a vegetarian, and I had always been a skinny, lanky kid. I started being a vegetarian when I was 30, and it was literally killing me. I weighed 145 pounds, and I'm like pretty tall. It was really bad. No exercise, no resistance training, no anything whatsoever in my life, ever. I feel like I tried to like do stuff over the years. I would, I had a couple of years there where I was starting to bulk up a little bit. I was, throughout the day, every day, I would just drop randomly and just do push-ups, which is not sustainable. Like then you become beholden to doing that every day, all day. It's kind of ridiculous. But with the food, which is remained the best food you can get. There's a farm down the road here, Nickel Farms, and they raise ethically sourced meat. So I'm eating grass-fed, free-range bison and beef, and I'm eating chicken, sausages. Very simple eating, eggs, a lot of milk, yogurt, some fruits and veggies. The effects that has had not only on my physical body, but also on my mentality, my mental health, has just been life-changing. And, there's the Eastern religion concept of the mind, body, spirit. In high school, it was quite clear that my mind was good, I always procrastinated, and I didn't exactly do things in a timely manner like maybe I should have. But I did always get my projects done in school. And I graduated with honors, whatever the hell that means. I was like an straight A student for some reason. So that was fine from the start. Then I got my spirit figured out, or my spirituality, or whatever you want to call it, back in my howdy neighbor. Back in my band days, started meditating and being a little more spiritually aware. So then that came. The one thing I had never sorted out was my the body part of it. Mind, body, spirit. Skipped right over body, went right to spirit. I do think maybe you are supposed to do it in that order, probably, which makes sense. because, learning to respect my body more actually has had a massive impact on my spirit. If I were to recommend anything, don't go and snap your leg in half, eh? You don't have to do that to start respecting your body. Don't wait until you don't have your health to gain your health. And I mean, this happens to people in business all across the board every single day. They always say your health is your wealth. And there's mostly men, all these guys, they work their ass off for years, and then comes time to enjoy it, you can't, because you're sick. And I am so grateful that this atrocity happened to myself and my family, and that I've literally spent the past year recouping, rejuvenating myself, regrowing the bone, learning how to walk again, and ultimately becoming a more whole and thorough version of myself so that I can give that to my business, to my family and friends, to strangers. Anything I touch gets love, devotion, empathy, and passion, because I suffered for that. A few other side effects I've noticed from this is nothing really surprises me anymore. I expect a lot less. And the woman, Helene, who was dating my late father, said something that's always stuck with me. She said, expectations breed resentment. And that can be taken the wrong way, because, you feel like you want to expect things from the people you love. I'm not so convinced you should. I'm also not so convinced you should expect things of situations that are literally outside of your control. I seem to choose to expect things of myself now. I've proven to myself time and time again throughout this whole horrible ordeal that when I decide to do something and I commit to it wholeheartedly, I accomplish that thing. And so I'm, in a way never experienced before, able to hold myself accountable for everything that I say. And if I'm not going to do it, I don't talk about it. Which is hard. You want to talk about things. But it has been found by somebody. I should finally find a resource where this is documented so I can cite it. But they have found that when you speak about doing a thing, a certain part of your brain that registers and emits certain chemical reactions, so your dopamine centers. When you talk about doing a thing, the subconscious parts of your mind register it as you've already done it. So you don't do it because your subconscious, which, oops, I did that out of order. Your subconscious, which governs your subconscious, which governs the actual things that you do, your reactions and everything, and you taking action. It doesn't know the difference between a thought of you doing something and your sensory experience of actually doing that thing, which is kind of crazy. It makes sense though, because, sorry, this is going to get really out there for a sec. It makes sense because what is a sight, a sound, a smell? What is that other than just a series of chemical reactions or neurons firing in your brain telling you this smells like chocolate or this looks like a tree? That's all just happening in your brain. I'm sorry to get abstract there. But when you think about it like that, and it becomes kind of easy to actually frame it in that way. You know, a thought is no different, chemically speaking, in your brain than actually seeing and experiencing the thing. This explains why your dreams can be so vivid, especially those ones maybe you're kind of dozing in the early morning or something. You woke up in the middle of the night, you're in and out of sleep. Those vivid dreams you can have, or even if you're imaginative, and I'm sure you are if you're creative watching this. Maybe you're a kid and you just remember daydreaming like you were actually there, you know? That stuff is very real. And the older we get, the harder it becomes to remember that. Not only remember it, but also use it to our advantage or benefit. Now, this is starting to kind of get into the realm of bringing things to reality that you want. So I think anything I've ever accomplished that's actually sizable came after months, usually months, of focusing on it intently and intensely in my mind. And then as I continued to kind of put the pieces together and daydream about it, see it, feel it, then I would start to do two things. I would start to take small actions towards that thing. And I would also keep an active vision board, as crazy as that sounds. It's the last place I was living in. I had an office there. And while I was in that office, I started making these vision boards, the career-specific vision boards. I had made one before when I was living out in Alberta. That one had Emma on it, partner Em. Not specifically her, obviously, but a brunette girl with big eyes looking back at me holding my hand. And it had this truck on it, and it had the motorcycle that caused the accident. So that's what kind of my vision board stuff started. And then when I was in that office in that city I was living in, I started another vision board. And for this one, I made a photoshopped image of a studio. It had a mezzanine up top with color paper backdrops for photography. It was big, and I took my logo, which at the time was Ashcroft Media Co., and I photoshopped it onto the floor and made it look very realistic. And about a month later, I acquired what became 432 Media headquarters, my studio. The point of a vision board is not that you're performing some kind of voodoo magic. That's not it at all. And it doesn't have to sound so stigmatized. All it is a reminder of your intentions. Because remember, your mind, it's not bad. Your mind is powerful. It's a reminder of your intentions. So you're being reminded constantly every time you look at it what you want and what you're looking for. So when you see it, which it's there, like the things you want already exist. When you see it, you can act, right? So I remember one morning when I was still running, before I kept blowing my ankle out, I had just finished a run with a good friend, Sandy, the fine art painter. And he texted me and he said, "Have the best day you've had in a month," or something like that. He texted me that, and shortly after that, I was driving down a road, which coincidentally was actually just around the corner from the house I was living in. And I saw this commercial building, big building. And across the street, there was another commercial building. So I pulled into a parking lot to look at this commercial building. But the parking lot I pulled into, which was across the street from that commercial building, had a window. And in that window was a sign that said "For Rent." And I looked inside and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was exactly what I was looking for. It was the studio that I wanted to build. And so I called the number on it. My neighbor's name was Carl. Talked to Carl, and I couldn't believe the price of it. It was literally nothing. It was like $1,200 a month for massive space. So I gave him first and last, and I signed for it. And I renovated it. You know, it was a dust bowl. It was really dirty. It was an old mechanic's shop or something like that, like a machinist, I think. Lots of dirt everywhere and just nasty stuff. I polished it. I made it beautiful. I put a lot of money into it. And in tandem with signing up for a group coaching program that lasted for a year, I was able to double my income from the previous year. And thinking back on it, I've since walked away from that studio. I completely walked away. I didn't make anything off of it. I'm just so glad that I did that. I have no interest in having something like that now. Maybe in the future, I don't know. But doing it showed me what's really important in not only my business, but also my life. Business-wise, I am in a space where I simply want to work with clients that I believe in and clients that I have love and respect for, and genuinely help them do the things that they want to do their way. And as far as my marketing and outreach is concerned, I only want to work with home builders. Because when I was a kid, sort of in tandem with doing work like this, I seem to have lost, oh, there you are. In tandem with doing things like this, working on engines, etc., I was playing outside, building tree forts, and what's further is for about a decade before I started this business, I was in and out of the construction industry. Before I drove out west, I had a brief stint working with a luxury builder, which inspired me to maybe think I wanted to have a design and build business. So I went to architectural school for a bit. I designed a house and charged $6,000 for the drawings, and they actually built it. It was pretty cool. I love the building process. And I guess when I had that studio, I didn't have the mental breathing room or bandwidth to recognize the fact that the only people I should be reaching out to work with are home builders, interior designers, architects, landscape architects, or landscape design and build companies, or even skilled trades businesses. Those are the types of people I like to be around, along with creatives, of course. And what's more is I've realized, especially from working with one specific client for about 4 years now, I've realized that I'm quite good at marketing for construction companies. So why would I lie to myself and do anything other than that? I think it's sort of foolish to do things that you don't have any interest in just because you have to pay the gas bill. 3 done. I'm going to reset this because I'm sure my memory card's going to...
Let's all go to the lab.
Welcome back. So I've done three cylinders, 4 to go. To be honest, I thought I wouldn't enjoy this process all that much, and I might bite my tongue when I get to that back section, but so far so good. This one will be hard. It's always hard when you can't see what you're trying to do. How am I gonna get in there? This is why, if you're curious, mechanics charge so much. Every car is different, and they all have their own unique ways of going together and coming apart. With that comes time, just a lot of time. You're paying a mechanic to save you time, and you're paying a mechanic because they're professionals who know what they're doing, and there's no learning curve. And I think that's like any business. And if you're a creative videographer, photographer, how can you position yourself as the solution to somebody's problem? Oh man, that one's hard. Hold that thought. I gotta use my brain here for a sec. That's not gonna go, is it? There it is. Alright, I'm still using my brain. Still using my brain. My brain is being used. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get. Anyways, if you're a creative, if you're a videographer, photographer, and you're thinking about making yourself a solution to somebody's problem, in this case, the vehicle is a cylinder misfire, you need that to be fixed. And if you know absolutely nothing about cars, you take it to a mechanic because they know how to fix it. And that costs you money because that takes their time and their expertise. And they cover the materials for you too. This was a creative with a freelance business. What problem are you solving for people? This one's difficult. So you're a videographer, a photographer. God, I've tried this. Tried this 3 or 4 times now, haven't I? You're a videographer or photographer. You want to solve a problem for somebody. If you're a wedding videographer or photographer, that's a very straightforward problem and solution. And it is an amazing and fulfilling way to make a living as a creative. There are people who are more inept naturally to that type of work, and there are people who are not. If you are a hopeless romantic or a very romantic type, you just love watching love, right? Then that would probably be a really good route for you. And your problem versus solution is extremely simple. Problem, which isn't even a problem. Problem is they're getting married and want it documented. Solution is you do it elegantly and professionally. There you go. Name your price, all right? Now, if you're in a different camp and maybe you're not a hopeless romantic or you like getting up early or something and you don't want those late nights, this one's gonna be hard, guys. Oh man, that one thing's right in the way. How the hell do people do this one? You know, I'm gonna go back to that videographer thought, but the interesting thing with doing something like this is that, and why it can be so challenging and fulfilling, you know, one or the other, is that sometimes there isn't a straightforward solution. You have to use your creativity. What could I do here? I wonder if I have channel locks. I'm gonna pause this and come back because I need to focus for a sec.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, hello. I am back. About 2 hours has elapsed. I saved you from watching me wrestle with that back there. I commandeered Emma's car and obtained one of these jobbies. And I took the dog for a walk. And I had a call with my landlord, which was a follow-up call because the original call happened a few days ago. To which they said, "Hey Jay, we gotta sell the house." So now I'm gonna see if I can buy a house. And either I'm gonna be able to buy it or we're gonna have to move and get something else. So I'm sure that will be an educational and entertaining journey for you to follow along with. This side looks hard. It's gonna be challenging, this side. I can't see. That's better. So again, another glaringly clear reason why it costs money to get your car fixed. If you're ever in a situation where you're gonna take on something like this, and you're maybe, you know, you're confident, you think you can do it yourself. I'm sure you can, because I'm sure I'm capable of finishing this today. But I've learned that it's wise to watch a video of somebody else doing it ahead of time and watch the whole video. I had watched to a certain point this one specific video that I found, and he explained how to do most of it, and I thought I had gotten enough from that, but I hadn't. And when I got to that back cylinder, that became abundantly clear to me. And that cost me 2 hours. Well, just for the trip itself, maybe an hour and a half, because I live in the country and I had to drive into town to get that piece. So, yeah, do yourself a favor and get your hands on an instructional video that gives you the whole process before you dive in. Because if I had watched this whole video in the first place, I would have just gotten that part or that tool I needed while I was there. I'm gonna skip through this part here, and you will magically pop out on the other side, or this little piece is removed. And whoop-bam. Welcome back. I have obtained another light, as well as this convenient blanket, and I got that piece off. So, back at it. So when we stopped talking before I had to enter the store there, I was talking about what to do if you are a videographer, photographer, self-employed person. You want to solve people's problems. For me, I've found a myriad of successes so far throughout my career, all of which have been fun, challenging, and creatively fulfilling. The one niche specifically that I've now fallen into is the construction world. I love documenting it. I think the best thing that you can do as an entrepreneur, a business owner who uses cameras to make a living, especially if you're just starting, is to shoot everything you can. Anything you get the tiniest little inkling towards, you should shoot that. And then with time, you don't have to pick a niche. The niche will just present itself to you. And it doesn't always happen. It happened for me. I'm very fortunate that it kind of happened the way that it did. Just know that everything that you do in your career is applicable to other projects that you take on, no matter how similar or different they are from each other. Everything that I've ever done, at least, has always informed new directions I've taken. Let's see. Pray for me. Where can I get that from? I think next time I'll get my mechanically inclined brother, Steve, to do it. I think that would be wise. Well, I don't know. I really enjoyed the first half. Maybe it's just daunting now because I have to drive my truck tomorrow. So I'm kind of stuck out here until this is done. Such is life. It's certainly the least of my worries. Back on the topic of the conversation I had with my landlord. When I moved here a year ago, I had the thought in my head that I would like to buy this house. And as I'm sure you can gather from me talking about last year, it wasn't the best year for me, financially especially. Excuse me, somebody's called me twice. It's probably wondering why I'm talking to myself. It's Sam's sister.
Hi there, you've reached Andrea.
Andrea Fleury.
I'm away from the phone.
Well, I guess we're not talking to Andrea Fleury. It's difficult enough as a self-employed person to buy a home. If you're in the creative world and you're a freelancer, I'm sure you know this. Apparently there are ways with private lending or, vendor buyback situations for a certain amount of time where it can be doable. So that's sort of the conversation we've had, and we'll see where it goes. I'm not expecting anything one way or the other. I know what I want and how I'd like it to go, but I'm also prepared for the alternate reality in which Em and I have to find a new place to live after being here for a year and really loving being here. And that just has to be okay, and it is. Anyway, I'm sure I'll be talking about it on here throughout the process of the next few weeks or several months. And I'm sure it'll be quite interesting if you're curious about the ins and outs of how to buy a house if you're self-employed. Be sure to share the details. All right, what's this one gonna do for me? That is not something I want to do. There are moments in projects like this where you hit a snag and you realize it might not fly. Well, maybe it will. I guess we'll find out, huh? So, brief synopsis. I was talking at the beginning of this about how I find peace and tranquility in doing this kind of thing. And I really did genuinely enjoy that first side. Sort of, I guess, like a metaphor in life is that you're going to hit moments in maybe a process or a choice you made or something you committed to where you are not super pleased. And then you have a decision to make. You have to decide, am I going to keep pressing on this? And that could be anything. That could be a career choice or something simple like this, a relationship. And, you know, I've always found it does help to talk about it out loud to people who care about you. Give yourself time to meditate on it, contemplate, and whatever you choose, that is the right choice, because it's just you. Your experience on this planet is all yours to have. But when you make a choice, you need to commit to it, stick with it, and have some faith that it will get better if it's not great in this moment. And don't be afraid to step away for a moment and ponder a different direction. So when I was trying to get this clip off here, I was having a hard time getting at it, but I just didn't have leverage. So I ran inside and I got this blanket, and now I can get right up in there. So tasks like these ones, call them the physical meditation. If you are familiar with meditation, you know that the entire intention behind it is to stop thinking. If a thought comes into your mind, you gently kind of cast it to the side. And in doing so, you're likely to eventually have breakthroughs or realizations, revelations. And these come in all shapes and forms. So something like this is simply another version of that, where you do a simple task, sometimes simple, not entirely simple in this case. Do a task, and in doing that task, you allow your mind to sort of wander and float freely, which is why I wanted to make this video in the first place. I was very curious if anything interesting would come to mind while I was doing this meditative task, and I suppose that has happened. Back on the house front, I went inside earlier, and I just felt very calm and confident about the situation. Perhaps because, you know, the way your mind works, and this is everybody, the way your mind works is the same across the board. You can think about things all you want, but the more you overthink, the more you tend to not come to a concrete way forward. Whether that's just coping with something, or accepting, or having an idea to do something. If you need more money in your business, you simply need an idea. And ideas are funny things. You don't simply sit and think of an idea. You don't say, I'm going to sit down and think my way out of this. It doesn't really work like that. But you get ideas when you're out for dinner with friends, or you're changing the spark plugs in your truck, or splitting wood, or really any task that is seemingly random. That's when you get your best ideas, I find. And when I say you, I mean I don't know you, but I do know myself, and I do know basic human psychology. I also know that if you spend all your time thinking instead of doing, you're likely going to be in the same spot you were when you were trying to solve the problem itself. Oh, this one is hard. I'm going to cut to this being done. Hello, Andrea Fleury.
Hey, sorry I missed your call.
Sorry, I missed your call.
I called your wife back first.
Oh, Emily DeFleur, eh?
Yes. I just wanted to see how you guys are doing, if you guys are okay.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. We're
I heard what's happening.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
working through the process right now. So I talked with Mike, the other landlord. We're gonna see if we can do a vendor take back, it's called, where they kind of
Consider the rent towards the down payment?
yeah, it's the closest thing you compare it to. Like, it's like something like that. It's more like some combination of mortgages that happen to kind of make it make it happen. Well,
Right.
we'll see what happens. I mean, I know
I think it's like the right time.
the right time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was. I wanted to do it 3 years ago. It was the right time then. And
Okay.
when is the right time, really? You know, it's we love being here, and
Yeah.
it's just I don't think anything really happens when you want it to or when you expect it to, as you know. It's just sometimes things just happen, and
Opportunity to ride.
well, that's it. I mean, when I moved in, I said I want to live here. Like I literally said the words, I want to buy this house.
Yeah.
I didn't mean exactly like this, but if that's what happens, then that's what happens. And if it doesn't happen, then such is life as well, you know. I'm not surprised anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
How you doing?
I'm good, actually. I'm great.
Yeah? What have you been working on?
I'm at the gym.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to take it easy, but I got promoted at my day job, and I'm settling into that role now.
Yeah.
It's going really well.
That's good.
And then with Charlotte Tilbury, like this past month, they've given me like so many extra responsibilities. Like I made an extra $600 with them just doing extra stuff, like
Oh, good for
running
you.
events and like
That's awesome.
making social media content, even like.
No way. Good for you.
And they actually sent me to Toronto on Saturdays because they thought the CEO of Charlotte Tilbury was in town.
Oh yeah.
Making like some kind of stops.
Yeah.
So they wanted somebody like she asked me to go meet her.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't meet her though. She didn't come to my store, but I was still the one that they chose to be there in case she did.
Oh, good for you.
Isn't that crazy?
That's so sick.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going really well.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm happy for you. That's good.
Yeah. Well, if you guys do find a house, Emma says she's gonna turn it into her gothic Barbie dream house.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was looking around at it, and I'm like, let's
Barbie.
let's go for it. Like, let's see if we can make this happen. You know?
Yeah.
Like that'd be crazy. I would love for that to be a thing.
Sorry, it's breaking up.
Oh, I said I'd love for that to be a thing.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works out. If it does, it's fate. If it doesn't, it's also fate.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Okay, well, I know you're a busy man. I want to check in.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get my spark plugs changed here.
Okay.
It's proving to be a fun adventure. Okay, I love you. I'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye. Hello. Welcome back. That's 9:20. I'm gonna lift some weights, have some supper, and then I will return.
To get ourselves a treat.
Hello. I'm back. I lifted weights. I ate supper. Now I got one more to do, which is gonna be a hard one. This one's hard. What can I do better here? I'm gonna pop this off and then I'll be back. So what did I talk about through this process? And what did I gain from it? Was it worth doing this myself? And you know, I'm not done yet, so I don't even know if I should be reflecting on things so much just yet, but I will say that all in all, this has been pretty challenging, especially these awkward little ones, but I've really enjoyed doing it, and it's been a great physical meditation. There was the one hang up with that one piece, that one side over there. Got hung up on that, and now I seem to be having a few issues with this one, but other than that, it's been a nice little change of pace before I dive back into things tomorrow and get into my normal routine. It's been good for that. When I step away from how I spend my time, which these days is basically getting up and doing my own morning routine and then going down into my office and starting to work, and I split that up these days. It's quite nice for my perspective because there are people who only do this. And God bless them. Although I've enjoyed this process, if I had to do this all day, every day, I don't think I would be so optimistic about it. It kind of makes sense that, you know, maybe you're dealing with a mechanic, you're dealing with somebody who busts their ass all day, and they're dealing with people who are frustrated that maybe something is more complicated than they thought, or it's more expensive than they thought. Those are the people that are crawling around under your hood so you can drive around. Just remind yourself how good you have it. If you're having a hard time reminding yourself, you know, I'm not going to condone you.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Hello. Welcome back. My memory card filled up. Like I was saying, if you're stressed with your work, if you're feeling maybe overwhelmed, or you're lacking perspective or lacking the ideas you need to continue to push forward and continue to spread positivity and goodness, if you're having a hard time with that, I'm not suggesting that you sit up on your engine of your car at 11 o'clock at night. But what I will say is try to pick an activity or something that helps you to wind down and be quiet, contemplative with something. Whether that's simple woodworking or splitting wood. That's something else I like doing. Last cylinder here. Let's get these spark plugs out. That won't go. So with my truck here, I haven't really had any issues with it, as I kind of touched on towards the start of this video. But something that I always do is change my own oil as well. I don't exactly know why. It's easy and cheap enough to take it into a quick lube or something, but it takes me 15 minutes and it's satisfying. Ooh. Yeah, that's comfy. There's a plug. Spark plug. Put it in. You know, something I don't think I've talked about at length yet is the passing of my dad, which was in 2020, right before COVID started. You know, he was sick. It was time for him to go, right? It just kind of happened pretty quick. But, you know, of course, that kind of thing is never easy for anybody. But loss is such a weird thing, you know. We can either long for the moments we wish we could have still had with them, or we could look back on what we did have with them and get really honest with ourselves and say, you know, was it good? And with my pops, it was. He didn't know me anything when he died. He taught me how to be good to people. He taught me how to be selfless and get through things with a smile on my face. I should probably get a tattoo at some point or something, like they do in movies. Because, you know, what would Dougie do? His name was Doug. What would Dougie do? Because there are times when, you know, we're struck with a rather uncomfortable situation, and you wonder what that person would do. That person who, you know, everybody has this person in their life, that person who seems to have all the answers. You know, at our family cottage, especially as you don't remember much from when you're a kid, you just know that you were there. And, you know, maybe you got old family videos or something to look back on, photographs, which is the amazing power of what you do. If you're a creator, the ability to look back on things. Anyhow, thinking back, if you weren't having fun, no matter who it was, Pops would let you know it. He would say things like, put a smile on your face or go home. He instilled in me the value of that. Live free and open. Always smile. Work hard. You know, don't pout if something's not going your way. The morning my dad passed, I went to work. I got woken up by his girlfriend Helene at probably 4 or 5 in the morning. She just gently tapped me on the shoulder and she said, he's gone, dear. And I went downstairs and had some breakfast, and he was in the living room. That's where he passed. He was just kind of living in this hospital bed in the living room of the house. Because we didn't want to send him to hospice, the place where you go to die, He spent his whole life giving to people, and be damned if we're going to have him die in a death wing of a hospital. So he died in the living room of my childhood home. And, I went down there, I looked at him. The family started to come over. And then I think 7:30 rolled around, and I said, okay, I gotta go. And everybody, especially my little brother, looked at me and like, what are you talking about? You gotta go. I said, I gotta go to work. I didn't go to work because I felt like I had to. I went to work because I actually had an out on that particular job a few nights before, but I stayed committed to it. At the time I was working for a live audio company, and the specific job was to drive a trailer stage to a location and help them set it up. It was a 2.5-hour job. Yeah. A few nights before my dad passed, I was helping him on another job. And I said, I think my dad's gonna die soon. And they said, wow, man, if you're gonna take that day off for that, or not just the day, like, you gotta take off for a while, like, just let us know. That's completely okay. And I said, no, what are the chances of him actually dying on that specific day? Lo and behold, that morning, he passed. And I went to work because I made that commitment, and because my dad would have wanted me to go to work. And building the things that I've built in my business and in my life have, to a large extent, been through that same metric. Through the metric of what's the right thing to do here, and what would my dad be proud of, or what would my dad approve of, that sort of thing. I think especially this is different for everybody in different relationships. Everybody's got people like that in their lives who they love or they respect, and we don't always want to admit it, but their opinion does matter. And just because somebody's dead and gone doesn't mean that what they taught you and what they gave to you while they were here is dead and gone as well. That gets to live on through you, and the things that you do, and the conversations you have, and the things that you create. That's a really powerful metric to measure your choices on, in terms of what you focus on and what you give your energy to.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Hello. Welcome back. This is done. I did it, I think. I'm gonna clean all this up, and then I'll likely bring you back one more time, because I should probably start it to make sure I can get to my shoot tomorrow.
In the hours before dawn.
Okay, I'm gonna start it up. Hopefully it doesn't explode.
A piling of words, caught in
Sounds good. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you took something from that. I can't even recall what I talked about. I'm sure it was hopefully philosophical and helped give you some perspective on maybe something that you're experiencing in life. If you liked it, then like it. If you didn't like it, then let me know, and I won't do that again. Maybe subscribe if you want to see more, and see you in the next one.